How's it going, everybody? This is episode 3 of the Hybrid Athlete podcast. Checking in with you after my marathon race. So I ran on Sunday, ran the full Colorado Marathon, 26.2 miles. Uh, Official time, I believe, was 3:04. So right at like a 7 minute, I think a 7 minute, 3 second pace, something like that. I was pretty satisfied with the result. It was a good day. Weather was pretty good. It was cloudy for most of the morning, but the last half of the race was a good climate and a good environment to to be finishing up. Um, very tired. I was very tired. I was very sore. Um, I hadn't finished a race that sore. I don't think ever. I definitely pushed myself harder than I as hard as I knew I could on that race. Um, so the the outcome, my goal was to break 3 hours for the Boston Marathon, but obviously I always kind of emphasize having realistic expectations. Um, I'm still kind of heavy, so like this whole season I've been kind of weighing a little bit more than what I want, but that's just kind of a natural consequence of my appetite from lifting weights still and just doing everything that I'm doing. I've learned over the years really how to keep myself well nourished so that I can kind of push myself to the max. So I like gravitating towards that philosophy. And my first thought, especially after this race, is well, if I can just fine tune and kind of enhance and improve, subtly improve my overall output and my performance in this race and into next year, then I can maybe be roughly the same weight next year, but just more kind of a solid, more 182, 183 pound body frame, improve my running skills by, 3, 5, 8%. Weightlifters will tell you that if you put on 3 to 6 pounds of muscle every year, that's good progress, especially when you're not using steroids. The law of diminishing returns does kick in. I beat last year's time by roughly 2 minutes. So I worked fairly hard to get that accomplished. But also retrospectively, I only did 2 hard months of training for the marathon. So you're looking at a 8 week training, basically training program, a mesocycle, if you will, where most experts suggest at least a 6 month training time frame for a marathon. But again, what we're doing here as hybrid athletes, it's not normal. So it's not normal to lift weights 4 days in the week before the marathon, which is what I did in my taper week. It's not necessarily normal to try to weigh over 180 pounds when you're trying to run 26 miles. But again, the goal, like my focus is on being that specialized middleman where I have strength and I walk into the gym and I feel strong and I look strong and I am strong. And then also doing variations of running that are considered top 5% of the field. Mathematically, I was 44th place out of 759 athletes, I believe. So you do the math, that's, sub, I think that's top 6% of the field, something like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. And again, I would argue that I weighed quite a bit more than anyone who finished at that top tier of runners. Um, so one other thing I'll mention about the race, psychologically, I always had I had confidence the whole way that I wasn't going to stop. Several people who I know asked me, "Well, did you stop running when you were doing the marathon?" Some people do. Some people cramp up. Some people have nutritional issues, hydration issues. I've definitely matured as a runner, and I've been able to avoid any of those issues. So for me, there was no hiccup in preparation, sleep, hydration, gels, electrolytes, anything, any of that. It was all smooth sailing. It was all well executed. So I'm happy with how everything turned out in terms of no excuses, prepped well, executed pretty well, and gave damn near 100% effort. So if someone put a gun to my head and said you have to run another mile, you have to run 27 miles, I am not sure whether or not my body would have literally broken down. So very happy with the effort, and that's kind of what weightlifting does for you. Is I was in pain, cardiovascular cardiovascularly, my system wasn't working. It was working hard, but not as hard as my muscular system was. My legs were in pain after mile 20 or mile 21. So I kind of had to just, grit and grind out the last 5 miles. And then I would argue that heavier runners such as myself, when you start to get fatigued, when you start to hit those longer miles, the body weight you carry plays more of a factor. So I describe the feeling as the first 16 to 20 miles are nice and light and fluid. And then the last 20% of the race is more like you start feeling like you're carrying beanbags in your legs. I just carried more muscle mass, just carrying more weight at a 6'1" body frame. So if I were to weigh 170, 175 pounds and do this race, I think there's a pretty good chance that I qualify for Boston. So that's another thing I have to take into consideration is I don't want to lose. I want to maintain as much strength as I can, but also just get lean and shredded and as solid as I can. And I'll post some photos on my social media channels too, and some of my streams, my stream shares. I'm pretty happy with how I look physically. So you'll see kind of the process of me, especially since March. I've lost about 5 or 6 pounds since March as I kind of lean out. I keep a pretty muscular frame though. And I'll probably keep that through the summer, to be honest, even if I do more obstacle races, maybe another marathon or half marathon after July when I go with Zach to Estes Park. So I think becoming more efficient as the hybrid athlete is the direction that I'm headed in. And I'm really happy with like how I feel, how my body's responding to recovery. One thing I'll mention too, in terms of the training and before I get into plans for this next month and into Boulder is I recovered pretty well after Sunday, even though when I woke up on Monday morning, I was sore, lower extremities were sore. But I hit the weights. I did a bike, like a recovery bike for a 20-minute bike. And then I did a back workout with arms. So I still got good hypertrophy training in. And resistance training, I'm going to keep doing that for 4 days a week all the way through. That's the intention, is all the way through Boulder and on June 10th. So that's not normal. If you Google search, for example, how long does it take to recover from a marathon? I think it says at least 1 week of doing nothing and probably several weeks for the regular person. But again, not a regular person. So I'm trying to kind of utilize and take advantage of my recovery benefit and my recovery capabilities to keep pushing every week until I hit this Boulder Ironman. Because again, you flip it over and a lot of people train at least half a year to do an Ironman. I'm going to be strictly swim, bike, run directed towards this event for 4 weeks. But again, you stack that on top of marathon training, cardiovascular wise, I'm in plenty of good shape to run 13 miles. But now the equation becomes 56 miles on a bike ride into a 13-mile run. I'll start prefacing some of my race history and stuff and some of my what my mental conversations are starting today and into the next couple of weeks. The first thing I'll say is last year I did not complete the entire run as a whole. I stopped after 6 miles and I was hitting aid stations, taking in fluids, walk, run, burning out. It took me like over 2 hours just to do the half marathon. So if I cut that down to a 140, 145 minute run, which is solid for getting off a bike for 56 miles, then that will translate into like a 5 hour 15, 5 hour, 20 minute Ironman, which I would be very proud of. So I'm definitely going to state my goal, and I'll post some shorts and stuff and some tracking and some documentation even in my channels and on my social media about what I expect exactly to my time to be for the Ironman, for Boulder Ironman. And the top 10% of the field would probably be around that time frame, definitely close to like 5 hours flat, maybe 5:10, 5:20. So I think that's a solid, strong goal to set. That is kind of synonymous to the goal of qualifying for Boston, running a sub 3 hour marathon. I'm definitely capable of doing it, but will I do it? It's probably not likely, but it's definitely probable. And again, I'm going to focus and I'll be tracking day to day, week to week, and I'll be posting on how the prep and how the taper week's going to go. Last year I took 2 full days off. This year I'm considering taking 3 full days off. So June 7th would be my last day, a very light day. Or yeah, June 6th. So that would be like a swim run, workout, something like that with no weights. And then I go into 3 straight days of just 7, 8, 9, nothing, and then race on the 10th. So I think that's how I'm gonna do it, and that's my plan going forward and going into that last week. Um, but in terms of the structure and the volume of the 4 weeks, let's get into it. This week I already hit a 4 mile run yesterday after my Ironman. This morning I hit a 4 mile run yesterday. I hit that bike. So I'm already back on the cardio, some lighter cardio, lower volume, just to keep the blood flowing and keep the muscles moving and the recovery active. I'm still hitting weights 4 days a week now. And then when I hit my peak week of training, where I do like 2 very long workouts, like 2 5-hour workouts, that's when I'm going to go to maybe just 3 days of weights and maybe take a full day off, and just do like a cardio day in between. So the day would look like a Monday weight session with light cardio, and then Tuesday I hit like a peak training day, Wednesday weights, Thursday cardio only, Friday light cardio, kind of a light prep for a Saturday peak volume training. So in terms of sheer volume, my peak training week for the volume for this marathon was 55 to 57 miles running, and about 25 to 30 miles biking, and a mile to a mile and a half of swimming. So now you're looking at basically maintaining those running numbers, just spreading them out more. So I might not do a 20-mile run like I did in my peak marathon training, but I'm still going to hit maybe a 17-mile run, and then 2 11-mile runs, and maybe a 6-mile run with a couple of 5Ks. So I'm still going to be running 5 days a week. I'm going to be biking at least 3 to 4 days a week, whether it's on the machine or outside. I usually like to hit at least one long bike ride outside, just to get used to kind of the air outside, the gear shift, all that stuff, kind of mimic and simulate and navigating traffic, drifting and stuff, avoiding racers, avoiding accidents, riding us to the highway. So biking can be a nerve-wracking experience if you're not used and well versed in kind of how to navigate traffic. There's people that get injured and actually lose their lives on a bicycle, riding next to highways. So when I hit the Boulder bike stretch, this Ironman, I am 100% focused on that stretch of riding straight, not getting close to anyone, just getting through the distance and getting out of the way and getting onto the other side road. So that's kind of the only part of the race that I'm not super excited about, is just kind of hitting that stretch of highway where everyone's kind of lined up single file, or you can maybe have 3 feet to pass someone. I never try to pass anyone. I just let people pass me if they want, but I just focus on a straight ride, get it done. It's about a 5-8 mile stretch, right along the mountainside, right along the foothills, which is actually a beautiful ride. But that's kind of the only part that it's not what I'm unsure about. It's just what I'm not really excited about, what I'm going to be conscientious of and kind of a little bit anxious of, going into the race. Last year, my big psychological issue was the swim. My first swim, I kind of had a panic attack. So I think the big thing to focus on in swimming is to get a hold of your breath and understand that breathing in water and interacting with water is not interacting with the surface of the earth, and that your ability to move smoothly and just get into a meditative breathing state allows you to accomplish that distance relatively easy. I did the swim last year in like 40 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe. So my goal this year is to do a sub 38-minute swim, which should be pretty easy because it's going to be the second time that I've ever done that distance. So I kind of have a steep learning curve and a steep performance curve with the swim. Obviously, the run, I've been running a lot. So just maintaining that through June is going to be my goal. I'll keep doing 17 milers just to overdo the run and make sure that when I get off the bike somewhat fatigued, that I have like a nice internal confidence. And as long as nutrition's good, then I'll be able to, kind of grind out that 13-mile run. And that's kind of the equilibrium there is, how much better than last year can I do in the run? If I run straight 13 miles, I'm going to break my time by 45 minutes because I was literally walking 2/3 of the distance on those last 6 miles. And if your mile walk pace is 10 minutes a mile, that's an extra 40 minutes right there. Well, probably 30 minutes. So I'm considering all factors in terms of how to train and how to design my brick workouts so that I crush the bike, but it's not like it takes it all out of me. One thing I did not do last year, and I'll provide more details this next week coming up when I really have a firm understanding of how I want to do the bike ride sessions. But one thing I did not do was I never rode the 56-mile distance. I kind of treated it like the marathon. I never really run. I do a 21-mile run in marathon prep. That's the peak. But I did the same thing with the bike for the Boulder Ironman. My longest bike ride was like 47 miles, 46, 47 miles. So my intention is to do like a long 4 hour, 3.5 hour ride that's like 70 miles plus, just burn out, max effort. That's the only thing I do in the day. And then see how that goes so that I can kind of build some longevity on the bike and I can really gain some confidence in my ability to cover that distance. So I specifically remember the last 6 miles on the bike last year. I was kind of like, oh man, I can't wait to get off this bike. And my legs are hurting. They feel heavy and I just don't feel like running. I feel like I can start running, but there was a big question mark, like how long can I run after I get off a 56-mile bike in 97-degree weather? The answer was roughly 6 miles. And the answer was after 6 miles, how long does it take me to run 6 more miles? The answer to that question is also a long time, like an hour and 30 minutes just to run 6 miles. Just because I was fatigued, I was broken down. I didn't have the recovery planned out, and I think my ability to tolerate pain has increased over the last year. And this is kind of the I guess kind of sadistic side of doing these races, and it's part of it. I mean, you're going to suffer when you do these races, but obviously, so many people do it for the feeling of accomplishment and for like the great journey, the path along the way. So all my training sessions were more enjoyable than the race day. But again, the whole reason you do these training sessions is to execute on race day. So there's no getting around it. I'm going to be legitimately suffering for at least an hour that day. And in the marathon, I was suffering for about 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. But that long duration, that 40-minute duration of every step you're in pain, that's going to pay dividends in the Ironman, because I definitely dealt with that this year for the marathon. And now I can transfer that pain tolerance and that ability to manage my nutrition through those difficult stretches into a bolder, better time and build some confidence for the upcoming goals that I have for 2024. It's a little bit early to share my goals for 2024, but hopefully I can kind of have a good season, have a good networking season where I kind of meet some more people through different companies in Colorado and get some more subscribers and kind of build a little bit more of a following than just a small handful of people. So when that time comes, I'll be definitely sharing more about what I want to do in 2024 in terms of maybe a 100-mile race, maybe a couple more marathons, maybe a full Ironman. So things along those lines. But for now, I think that's enough just to share the Boulder Ironman plans. That's my primary focus for the next 30 days. Nothing else matters in terms of fitness. Weightlifting takes a back seat. I had a heavy weightlifting session today just because I'm still recovering from my marathon. But going forward, when I hit Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, I just kind of treat those as my heavy swim, bike, run days, maybe do an intermediate weight day, Thursday, Friday, just to get ready for Saturday. But definitely 2 strong, heavy brick sessions every week now going forward. If I can get to a point, I'll drop this one number before I go. If I can get to a point where I can execute 3/4 of the race with relative ease and similar race time, meaning like if I do like a 10-mile run with a 40-mile bike and a 1-mile swim, and I feel like I can execute it pretty well, it's a tough day. But if I could execute that in a reasonable time and still have, something left in the tank where it doesn't feel like a race day, then I know that I can kind of take that taper week, build kind of a strong recovery, and execute this 70-mile race better than I did last year. So I expect my margin of improvement to be more for the Boulder Ironman than the marathon, because this was my 3rd full marathon, and this Ironman is going to be only my 2nd half distance Ironman. So that's kind of where I'm at. Mentally, I feel great. There's kind of there's something out there in fitness saying that a lot of people that run a marathon experience like a mental or depression low when they finish the race. I absolutely don't feel that. I think part of the reason is because I'm so involved in other aspects of fitness. Like, I mean, I box, I lift weights. I've already been running and biking and swimming before this marathon. So it's not like it's not my end all be all event for the year. So I think that's important just in life overall, is to have a nice kind of, diversification of things you enjoy to do and things that are important to you. So, yeah, that being said, I'm looking forward to this week, and I'll check back in next week, and the following weeks will be kind of similar format where I'll probably take 15, 20 minutes just to go over kind of my Ironman training and share things that I'm learning along the way, share how I feel, and a few more, maybe throw in a few more nuggets of information in terms of nutrition, recovery, stuff like that. So until next time, thank you for watching, and everyone go out there and be great at what you do. Take care of your business, take care of your families, and have a good day. Thank you.